People who do get paid enough for this shit. What's your job? I get paid an excessive amount to deliver excessively priced appliances to the extremely excessively well-funded occupants of Lake Tahoe. Like 90% of the job is just going on an amazing drive. One of my good grad school friend's mom is a housekeeper up there for some Airbnbs and families. She's the Swedish Chilean woman, widowed for over a decade now. Through working for really rich folks up there, she managed to keep the house and help her daughter through college and grad school. Firefighter. We are paid for what we potentially have to do, not for what we do when we show up to work. On top of that, I can retire with a pension at 50 years old. And we work a schedule where every day you come in to work, it's your Friday. My husband is an overnight security guard at a ranch in a small town. He gets paid $17.50 an hour. He sits in the car and makes sure no one comes on the property overnight. Only one time he's had an incident, and it was a drunk driver that drove through the fence, the pasture, then through the back fence, and then got stuck. He called the police and they handled it. He's worked there for several years. It's an easy job, which is nice because he has some health issues. Damn, I'm only making $15.65 as a supervisor. Security at an industrial plant. Do they need anyone on a swing shift? Production operator. I have really good pay for working an alright shift and am damn happy with my job, as I have zero education after high school and have worked a lot of shit jobs. Had a babysitting job during university. I showed up about 2 hours before bedtime and we had a snack, and I checked if they needed any help with homework, and then we watched some TV. They went to bed at 8:30 and the parents came home around 6 in the morning. This was 2 nights a week and the pay was good. I spent the entire time either studying or just watching movies all night. I did this too, except I slept, with the mom's permission of course. I worked for a single mom who was a nurse working the night shift. I would put the kids on their school bus or drive them to school and then go to class myself. In a different vein than most of the comments, I'm a nanny for a very well-off couple who are convinced their 2 boys are terribly behaved despite me constantly saying they're great kids. There is literal shit to deal with, and they for sure have their issues. Not enough time to play or hang out with their parents doesn't help, but I get paid an outrageous wage to basically be a third parent to 2 cute kids. Recently went down to only 20 hours a week during school, and make plenty to pay all my bills / rent and save a little. People who choose to do this their whole lives aren't doing so for lack of something better or whatever you might think. Sometimes this is a very competitive career choice. I have 2 friends who made 6 figures as a live nanny to a famous model. He only worked for a year or 2, I believe, because it did consume all his time, but that doesn't sound like a bad gig for someone living in their 20s. Residential appraiser. Pick my own hours and get $400 per report. Work isn't hard, takes me about 5 hours. Everyone leaves me alone by design to not influence my value. Pretty sweet. I'm a bankruptcy attorney, so we use appraisers a lot. And man, if I had known how few certified appraisers there were, I might have gone on that direction instead. Seems like an excellent gig. Help desk for 20 years. I remember all the jobs before that said, I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit. Farmer, CRM, fast food, video store clerk, 7-Eleven clerk, call center. Although I kinda like the graves at 7-Eleven. Receptionist. I get paid $20 an hour to scroll through Reddit. Once a day or so, I need to have someone fill out a form. It makes for long days, but I'm doing classes to finish my undergrad on paid time, so it's all good. Poker dealer. I don't really do much, basically just play middleman so people can play their game without concern. If there's any real issue, I am supposed to call a supervisor and let them handle it. I put up with plenty of bullshit, but it's not that bad. Used to hand out free samples for $10 an hour when minimum wage was $7.50. I got to cook and joke around with people all day long. Hardly anyone gets mad at the person giving them free food, even if they don't like it. I love that job. One time I had both arms full in the mall while walking, and one of the free sample guys in the food court offered me a piece of chicken on an outstretched hand. I paused a moment and then ate it right off the toothpick he was holding. After a second, I stared at the guy and he stared back. Then I walked away. One of the most awkward moments of my life. Not me, but my close friend is a VIP experience tester for a large hotel chain. He shows up and they roll out the red carpet. He stays in the nicest suite and makes constant requests for champagne, food, car services, dry cleaning, etc., and takes notes of the speed and the level of service. I asked him if it was a difficult job, and he sincerely told me, sometimes it's hard to spend the dollar amount I am supposed to spend in 2 days. I throw out a lot of food and alcohol. Of course, it's all comped, so he isn't actually spending money, but he is expected to give the hotel 3 to 5K of action during his short stay. On top of this, he gets a fair salary, but any payment for that kind of work is worth it in my opinion. Engineer. I do mechanical designs of heat exchanger products. Chill in my own office and listen to music or podcasts all day while I'm doing layout drawings, making bills of materials, or running design software / calculations. I get around 90K a year, plus usually a nice profit bonus, which goes a long way where I live. Someone else commented asking us to list how long we've been at these jobs. This was my first job out of college, and I have been here 5 years now. As a more general mechanical engineer, we rely heavily on you equipment-specific dudes and the dudettes. I've got to know how the whole central energy plant and all the buildings work, but you guys definitely routinely save our butts with the, you're gonna need another 5 feet of clearance for that advice. CSB just had another HX rebuilt in our plant. Pretty cool to actually see one taken apart. Anesthesiologist. Get to put people to sleep. It almost always goes well, and the people are thankful. Rarely it does not go well and can get very scary very fast. We're fairly well compensated compared to other specialties. Recently, I had a colleague go in for a major mouth surgery and never came back. Something went sideways with the anesthesia. Next thing, he was brain dead. A week later, they pulled the plug. Never realized how scary general anesthesia can be until then. I am a very medically anxious person who was put under a minor heart surgery. I woke up from a fentanyl slumber during the procedure with no pain, no anxiety, and blurted out to my anesthesiologist she did the most amazing job on earth. I'm sure the fellows working on my heart and vitals were jealous. I worked in the fitness industry. For the most part, the pay sucks, and most people burn out quick and switch careers. I lucked out and got a coordinator job for a much municipal event government. I oversee several facilities and provide training and presentations for select groups, police, fire, paramedics, etc. I make 6 figures, and it's pretty much a cakewalk. I'm very aware of how lucky I am. I have a master's degree and about 15 years experience, but I was just about to switch careers before I got this job. I work for the government, and I'm way overpaid for what I do, honestly. There were people at my last job that made like $120K to scan documents all day. Another guy I worked with wrote dates on file folders and made the same. I used to work for a government contractor. I know this one lady that was quite an experienced project finance specialist. She was working for about a year, just being the time card police. All she did was reach out to people on Friday and remind them that their time card needed to be submitted. She then spent the next week assisting people with edits on their time cards. She said she probably worked about 1 hour a day. She made about $75K a year. I was an employee at a top firm, think Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, Google, and was legitimately depressed because of how brutal it was. Quit, and now I coach people on how to get into those firms, i.e. interview, prep, etc. Earned 5 times my previous hourly, and I actually enjoy it. So ironic but amazing. In anticipation of potential judgment, I would 100% go back in time and do the job again for the opportunities and learning/training it provided. It's the best experience I never want to have again. And I always warn my students that it's an extremely tough job and they should be sure that they want to rise to the top enough to have no work-life balance. Contracting officer, buying stuff for the DoD, 100% telenetwork, even without COVID, 6 figures, pensions, benefits, job security. Job itself sucks, but I've had worse. If I get called after hours or on weekends, I get to bill $300 per hour. I'm an enterprise, massive corporation software support tech. So yeah, I might have to wake up on a Saturday morning at 2 a.m., but I just hear the cash register sound and get right to it. Drive tractor trailers. Pays amazing, but it can be exhausting and mind-numbing. Also, can be terrifying depending on the weather conditions, but it only cost $5,000 from the school I went to get my CDL. Gotta deal with the dot sometimes, and sleeping in your truck 6 days a week sucks, being away from home, but it's a lot of benefits to it. Like, I think I'm smart now because I've listened to every podcast that ever existed. I'm a union electrician. Depending on the local, it's possible to make really good money with no more than a high school education. People talk like construction is hard work, and it is, but it doesn't have to be backbreaking. There are machines to do most of the really heavy lifting these days. I'm an average size, almost 40-year-old woman and have no problem keeping up. Honestly, the hardest part of my day is getting to bed at a decent hour. Construction jobs start early. My dad is a clam farmer. He basically spends his days diving or fishing, and maybe every 2 weeks has to actually work, but only for a couple hours. He lives on a tropical island, tax-free and duty-free, and drinks a lot of rum. He could earn a lot more than he does, which is still a tasty amount, but then he'd have to do more, so he's happy as he is. I'm an audiobook narrator. They basically get paid to stand in a 4x4 booth and pretend to be other people for a few hours a day. And then I spend a lot of time prepping manuscripts and doing research and rehearsing and learning dialects and accents and other various things. I also work as a television producer in sports, but there's not a lot of that going on right now. My schedule is extremely flexible. I have complete control over it. I'm pretty much my own boss, and so neither job is very stressful. The pay is okay, it's not huge, but quality of life is so much better that to me it feels like I make $1 million a year. Hospital spokesman. I get paid 6 figures to come up with the words to make bad things sound better. But most days, there isn't something bad to make sound better. Most days, it's more about event planning. Most days, it's me telling people, come to this place at this time and sit quietly while I talk, and we'll literally give you cake. I get paid over $100K per year to tell people where the cake will be. High school shop teacher in Canada. $51K a year. In 8 years and with a BED, I'll be close to $80K. But here's the thing. Before that, I was a mechanic. $42K a year. Working in the blistering heat, freezing cold, slush down the back while I'm changing oil. Sore hands, knees, tired AF at the end of each day. So I think I just really appreciate the job I have. Can kids be frustrating? Fuck yes. Could administrative be a pain in the ass? Unquestionably. Do I have to work on my own time? Yup. Do I miss swearing at whatever object is currently pissing me off? More than words can describe. But every time I deal with one of those situations, I think of where I was before, and all of a sudden, it's okay. Administrative assistant. Stay at it long enough, and it can be a 6-figure gig. In a major city supporting a senior executive. Infinitely portable. The job is pretty much the same in tech, finance, whatever. Every company needs them. Virtually recession-proof. Executives ain't gonna run their own calendars, emails, expenses, travels, etc. Almost always has good benefits. While there are always exceptions, it's typically a very 9-to-5 job that isn't overly stressful or demanding. Admin assistant was the first job I had that paid me a living wage. My favorite part of that job was that my boss hated phones so much, he didn't even have one in the office. I am equally phone phobic. One of the best office jobs I've ever had. I mean, to be fair, he was demonstrably sexist, but only in a patronizing way, not a call HR way. I work in a procurement for the feds. Decent healthcare, great retirement benefits, decent salary, true 40-hour week, and a culture that actually lets you take vacation time you're entitled to. There's bullshit I hate dealing with, but overall, I think my employer actually gives a shit about me. Every place I've worked with in the private sector, I feel like I'm a glorified piece of equipment. Dog walking. I get paid $27 per hour to walk around the neighborhood and literally pick up shit. It's fantastic, and I wouldn't want another job. I don't know where you live, but I run my own pet walking/sitting business and charge $25 per half hour. I have a nice, steady flow of clients who also have me house sit, for which I charge a much larger rate. I'm not bragging, I'm just thinking you may want to reconsider your rates. It's a surprisingly sought after service, so don't sell yourself short. Computer programmer. Nobody bothers me, it's indoor work, no heavy lifting, plus it's interesting. It's like solving crosswords or Sudoku all the time. I make about $250K in a good year. Lawyer. First, there are many lawyers who do not even clear $100K, so this is absolutely not true for all of us. But for many of us, we are earning well over $200 a year to type at a desk, go on site inspections, take depositions, and present arguments to a court. There are many A personalities in my profession, but if you keep a Zen mentality, you learn to laugh at people threatening to sanction you for enforcing rules and such. Plus, as long as you are completely honest with your clients, then if things go south, most will not hold you at fault. Special ed teacher for students with emotional and behavioral disabilities in a high-paying public school. I love my job. I love my kids. I feel like I actually make an impact. I get paid 6 figures, I have summers off, and lots of breaks, and I can leave at 3:05 when I need to. I make $45K a year to help people stay off the streets. We house the homeless and then just help them try to rise out of the mentality. I love on people all day long. Every single person I work with is amazing. My bosses are so flexible and we're not micromanaged a bit. Oh, and I have no college education and I've been to prison, so I'm blessed. Park ranger, $32K a year. The pay is almost worth it most of the year. There's part of the year where the schedule has me getting up at 3 a.m. for 6 weeks. Those days, I feel the pay ain't enough. I'm a rail cart switchman, which is basically telling the engineer how many more car lengths the train needs to move, so I can count from like 20 to that'll do. We get a lot of downtime, so sometimes we're sitting down waiting for like 2 to 3 hours, or sometimes all day, which is great. So apart from being shift work, rotating days and night, due point schedule specifically, I get paid way too much for what I do. I was a GS-15 chief of staff at the Pentagon until I quit, took an early retirement because I'm tired of this shit. Now I do humanitarian work around the world for about the same pay. My team performs a lot of rescues of victims being trafficked. It is very rewarding work. This will get buried, but I produce interactive workout videos all over the world. My second week on the job, I was in a boat following some Olympic athletes from the GB rowing team down the Thames River in England on a gorgeous fall day, and I just thought to myself, I'm getting paid to do this? In 2 years, I've been to 10 countries, and my work helps people feel better and get healthier. I'm so lucky. I'm a baker at a major university dining hall. I make cakes and muffins and Rice Krispie treats, all from scratch. We also make cookies, but those tend to be frozen, place, and bake. I bake for up to 1,200 portions of sweets per day, which is around 20 full sheets of pans of products. I'm full-time 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. My take-home pay is not super impressive, however, I have something very rare in the food industry, a union. I'm a proud union worker, who is guaranteed pay raise. I also have full health benefits, including vision and dental, a 401k, and a pension. However, pro or con depending on how you look at it, I'm a seasonal worker. I only work when school is in session. So I'm off for 3 weeks at Christmas a week for spring break, 3 weeks in the beginning of summer, 4 weeks late August to mid-September. I live thrifty and save my money, so I'm living quite comfortably now. I have been at my job for 6 years and worked my way up from being a cafe attendant to a baker with only on-the-job training. Very happy with my workplace, and the kitchen is a very close group that always makes sure everyone sits and eats together so we can all chat. Fireman on the East Coast. No college education, no experience, no volunteer time. I've been making 6 figures since I was 20 years old. I have the greatest job in the world. I get to hang out with my best friends for 24 hours, 2 days a week. Yeah, we have to work hard sometimes, but even working hard is fun in a sense. Don't get me wrong, it's really hard to see people on what could be the worst day of their life. You carry a lot of emotional baggage from the shit you see, but I get paid entirely too much for what I do. I can retire at 44 with a great pension. Can't beat it. I get paid too much for what I do, in my opinion. I am an accounting clerk, and all I do is accounts payables. In other words, I register the company's bills. A kid in high school can do my job, but they ask for a bachelor degree in accounting. That sounds awesome though. I graduated with my associates in accounting in spring, but most clerking positions around here only pay in the 13 to 14 hour range. It's hard to justify leaving my part-time $19 an hour janitor gig where I play video games all shift to make the same amount working full-time clerking. Janitor. They are desperate for reliable and stable workers, so when they find one, if you've been with them for a decent chunk of time, you can negotiate a pretty decent pay raise. Before all my medical issues, I was getting paid $24.30 per hour, and the work, so long as you are not working at school or a public location or hospitals, is really not that bad. No worse than cleaning your own home, except you're getting paid for it. And unlike other jobs, they prefer you to take it at a slow pace so they can charge you extra hours to the company who hired us. Though I try to do things without delay, because that just feels low to purposely work slow to charge them more, when it can be done quicker. Finance in a big multinational corporation. Over 6 figures a year, not including pensions, stock bonus, etc. I work 1 to 2 hours during a slow day, most of the time, 4 to 5 hours during a busy day, a few weeks a year. Big corps allow for a lot of downtime since there is so much bloat, but most people generally lie about how much they are actually working.